Morecambe Bay without my stick. And when we got to the bottom of the ladder, I put my stick in, it went right up to the hilt. And we set off and we were squelching through mud for ages. Then he warned us about the quicksands, right, which we didn't find any. And then the dangerous seagulls, which were attacking the holiday makers. We didn't see any of those either. And then we came to the river. Well, I'd warned these two journalists beforehand. They said, I can read sands wherever I go, but you cannot read the depth of that water. And it hadn't been dredged in those days, so it was going to be deep. So we had the Coast Guard waiting for us. They took us across, and we jumped out and walked the rest of the way. But that was an experience. Well, when I left school, I went fishing with a horse and cart, same as I did at Southport. And it had its pleasures, but it also had its dangers. And Morecambe Bay, on the upper reaches, in those days, the river ran close to Grange and close to the rocks. Well, where a river runs close to rocks and the rocks shut out, the incoming tide comes very fast, it causes a scour. So you had lots of frightening experience where a horse went out of his depth. Horses were good at wading, and we waded with just the heads and part of the backswing, the tail root. Marvellous, they got to wading like that without swimming. But occasionally they did drop out of the depth. A frightening experience. You would have stood up here mid-rib in water, and you had a net dragging on the back of behind the cart, dragging on the bed of the sand, and that acted as an anchor. So without you release the rope, both you and the horse would have been drowned. So we had a spare coil of rope. Now on this side, different sands altogether. Not as deep, no quicksands I wouldn't think, because they had a pole across the front of the cart and a net either side. And one horse pulled the nets that way. So that was a different way of fishing. Well, in 1963, I was out on the sands cockling with my father and this mighty big chap. He was a sea fishery officer, Gren Harrison they call him. Lovely bloke and very, very fair to the fishermen. But he used to walk out, and there was only us two out that cockling on that day, and he comes and I was as strong as two men. You know, cockling's hard work, really hard work, especially when you're a young lad. The first week cockling, you get, we call them segs on your hands, blisters, right? Then you get hardened up. But we were tired this day. He arrived, and we got about 500 or 600 weight of cockles, my father and I. And when you arrive on the cockle beds, you always saw to your horse first. That was the first job. Take the horse out of the cart, shafts up into the air, facing the wind, cover him up, give him a feed, and then you could get on with your cockling. So we put the horse in the cart. You have to take the back of the cart out, which was called the cart heck. And Gren said, no need for that, he said. And he came along, and me and my father used to, 100 weight sacks of cockles. Dad used to get all to one side, lug, they call it, I get all the other, and we'd tow him into the cart. Gren just got hold of a sack, either side, and lifts them straight up and into the cart, just like, amazing, he was as strong as two men. But on the way home, he mentioned to me that the guide at Grange over Sands was retiring. He said, have you never thought of going in for the job, Cederic? I said, well, I've never heard about it, and they only live about 2 miles away. Well, so he told me about it. He said, I'll call down with the details, which he did, and he applied, and the Queen doesn't come up to appoint you, she appoints trustees, and the head of the trustees is Lord Cavendish at Holker Estates. And you sit behind, they sit behind a table, and you face them, and ask lots and lots of questions. But I think they know about you, before you meet up with them. There was just one other fisherman, and I was chosen, and that's 50 years ago, right? It's a long time, isn't it? Eh? And I'm still going. Yesterday was a day like this. Was it like this here? We crossed the bay yesterday with about 20 horses and carriages from the Ribble Valley Driving Club. Well, it was fantastic. I was sat behind a pacer. Oh, it could absolutely fly. But it was same as me. It's getting on a bit. And he said, it's a bit tired today, said. We got to the river. He said, I don't think we'll go any farther. We've done about 9 miles. He said, I think we'll turn around and go back. I said, well, just go through the river. They'll enjoy that. So we went through the river. And then we turned around to come back. And this chap said, can we go on ahead? I said, aye, be going. Well, once one got in front of this horse, there was no holding it. Oh, God. I don't think the carriage wheels touched the ground all the way back to Grange. But what an experience. But not only I'll test your gin.